Radhe Radhe everyone. Welcome to our daily wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Nitinji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe everyone. Thank you Amritavani-ji. Thank you Vijay-ji for the wonderful session. Namo Namaha. Bahu Samichinam Puna Milama. Dhanyavadah. All right. Good morning, good evening everybody. Hope you're doing good. Hope you had a great weekend as well. So today we will pick up the Bhakti Bhavs today. Okay, it's a very intriguing topic. When I heard it for the first time, I was really blown away by that. The way we have the opportunity to build a personal rapport with God. And chapter 4 verse 3 has given us an opportunity because it has introduced Sakha Bhav. So I thought, let's take on this opportunity to introduce all the Bhavs, because Arjun, Lord Krishna, is saying that you are my devotee and my friend. And we will look at all the Bhavs that are possible with God. We will get a little bit deep into philosophy this week. So feel free to stop me wherever it gets a little overboard for you, because we'll get into some really deep concepts about Bhakti this week. And see how far we can go. So today what we will do is we will introduce all the Bhavs, and we will start with the Shant Bhav and build on that conversation as we go along. So let me get started, share my screen, and then we will get started with today's topic. So let me share my screen. And audio so far so good, Amritavani ji?
Yes, Nitinji. So far
Wonderful.
so good. Can see your screen also.
Great. All right. So let's get started with our opening prayers. Yes, sec. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. Radhe Radhe. Very warm good morning, good evening once again to all of you. So let's get started. I'll pick up some other shlokas as well, because I'm sure 4.3 we've been seeing it for a long time, but today we will get started with the same shloka today. So I'll recite it and then we'll pick few hands. We have a lot to cover today. And if you have practiced it, feel confident enough. Especially would like to invite over new participants who have not recited it so far or want to do that. So let's get started then. Sa evayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. All right. Let's see who wants to recite it today.
Shamji, you can go ahead.
Yes, Shamji.
You can unmute yourself. Yes, please go ahead. Sorry.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Sa evayam maya tedya yogaha proktaha puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam hetad uttamam. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Shamji. Thank you very much. All right, we'll take 4 more.
Kaliji,
Hare.
Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji.
Radhe Radhe Shaliji.
Sa evayam maya tedya yogav proktav puratanaha bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam yetaduttamam. Radhe Radhe.
Shaliji, thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Udayji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Udayji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. स एवायं मया तेद्य योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे शका चेति रहस्यं हेतदुत्तमम्. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe Udayji.
Priyaji, please go ahead.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe Priyaji.
स एवायं मया तेभ्य योगः प्रोक्त पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं ह्येतद् उत्तमम्.
Wonderful.
राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe Priyaji. Thank you very much. All right, we'll pick maybe 2 or 3 more and then we'll get started.
Shatoshi, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Shitoshi.
We're not able to see the screen full.
Oh, you're not able to
Right.
see the screen?
Right, okay, done. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Evayam maya tedya yogaha proktaha puratanaha bhaktosi me shakha cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashutoshi. Do you have any more hands?
Agiji, go ahead, please.
All right, Pragiji.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
स एवायं मया तेद्य योगः प्रोक्तः पुरातनः भक्तोऽसि मे सखा चेति रहस्यं हेतद् उत्तमम्.
Nice. Thank you, Pragiji. So let's get started. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying that the same ancient knowledge of yoga, which is the supreme secret, I'm today revealing unto you because you are my friend as well as my devotee who can understand this transcendental wisdom. Now, Lord Krishna is introducing a relationship in this particular shloka, and that of a sakha. And I thought it's an opportune moment for us to introduce other bhavs as well, like Swamiji in his commentary has done. But we'll try to get really deep into those bhavs. And also the different levels of bhakti, as we say, right? The regular bhakti that we do will go really deep, as Sri Maharaj Ji and Swamiji has explained us to us, made that profound knowledge accessible to us. So if it gets too deep, please feel free to stop and we can always tackle it during our discussion. But we'll go really deep into some of the scriptural concepts around it today. But this week, I would say, not necessarily today. Okay, so let's get started. Sakha bhav we spoke about, right? So let's see what are we going to. So what are the different bhavs in which I can build a relationship with God? It's very important concept because God, if we think of God in its true glory, right, we seem very insignificant in front of God. So when we think of God in his Aishwarya Bhav means in his full opulences, then it's like how insignificant we are. And then it's like, even when, let's say, a prime minister, chief minister, or a president, if we were to meet him or that person is coming to our home, we will feel overwhelmed. Some dignitary is coming here. I should do this. My house should look like this. This is how I need to put on my best etiquettes today. And this is how my house should look like, all that stuff. And here we are talking about the president of this entire creation, which we don't even have a clue about. So building a relationship with that person, right, it can be very overwhelming. You remember even Arjun, when God showed him his cosmic form, it was like, I can't take it. I cannot digest it. Can you come back to your, two-armed form, which is comprehensible to me? Now, God, he wants us to establish that relationship with him. Okay, scriptures say that Aishwarya part, that's not what he wants us to get overwhelmed with. And he's actually given us a basis to build that relationship with him. He's actually accompanying each individual soul, even though this is 7 billion is only on our earth. Like that, there are infinite earths in different Brahmands. In one of the sessions, maybe we'll talk about multiverses and all that stuff as well. But the point here being, you still get individual attention, okay? Because we are his part, and like a spiritual father, he's there with us in every yoni that we go, in all the 8.4 millions. And then the day we actually turn our back towards him and start acknowledging him, or start making spiritual progress, or start uh, taking steps towards him, he starts freeing up his hands as well. So he's waiting for us in that sense. And that is why when God takes avatar, he has taken us enough basis to form a relationship with him. And those are the bhavs that we are going to talk about today. So what are the different bhavs? We will go through that. What are the possibilities after reaching Bhav Bhakti? What is Bhav Bhakti? We'll get into that as well. It's a bit of a ladder that we have to climb. And then what are the different ladder steps leading to Bhav Bhakti? So we will go into the categorizations of Bhakti also. Bhakti is not about just doing your kirtan, sitting and doing an arati. There are a lot of symptoms associated with the different stages of Bhakti as well. And needless to say, when you have different categorizations, even after God realization, the rasas can vary. There's a lot of potential. It's not like once you are God realized, especially if you are following a marg of bhakti, there is an immense potential to have different rasas. It's not limited, even after God realization, which is kind of a mind-blowing concept, but this is how it is. So we'll get a little bit into that. But during the course of this discussion this week, we will really get into deeper concepts around that as well. And then the stepping stone part of it, what is sadhan bhakti? Okay, that is the key concept. Majority would fall into that category. Some of you might be advanced sadhaks, but we'll get into a bit of a sadhan bhakti as well. So with that, let's get started. This is just to tee it up, set the context for today's discussion. We will not go deep into these concepts today, but at least introduce this so that you have the big picture and that 3000 feet view, and then we'll start zooming in during the course of our discussion for the rest of the week. We'll see how much we can cover today, and this is what is going to be our roadmap basically. So let's get started. So we spoke about Bhav. We introduced the term Bhav. Bhav is something that secret sauce which helps us take that big leap. Okay? And we need to decorate and enhance our Bhav towards God. Right? We saw that beautiful short clip from Swamiji as well on this topic. And Bhav is what? It is a richness of our sentiment. How much we can adorn it. That is the Bhav. And devotion is the quality of the Bhav that we possess. Okay? That is again how beautifully Swamiji explained that Bhav is the richness of sentiment and devotion is the quality of Bhav that we possess. So let's get into the different Bhavs now. So here is God. Okay. Now the first Bhav that we are going to cover today is the Shant Bhav. The second Bhav that we are going to cover during the course of our discussion is going to be Dasya Bhav. The third one is Sakha Bhav, that Lord Krishna is calling Arjun with Sakha Bhav. The fourth one is the Vatsalya Bhav. And the fifth one is the Madhurya Bhav. As you can see, the proximity and the distance between God and the Bhav, based on the Bhav that you are in, is shrinking, starting from Shant Bhav all the way up to Madhurya Bhav. So the distance is shrinking. One layer deeper, one layer deeper, one layer deeper, you will keep on getting with each Bhav. And Madhurya Bhav, so the way it works with the Bhavs is, it's a bit like that encapsulation or inherited classes kind of a deal, right? In IT, as you would imagine, in Madhurya Bhav, you can step out in any of the lower bhavs. It's like when you have somebody as a beloved, it's easy for you to treat that person as a kid, as a friend, as a master, or as a king. You have all that options. However, if you treat somebody like a king, all of a sudden you cannot, just hang around with them as a friend or make them your beloved. And there's a protocol or a distance that has to be maintained, or an etiquette that needs to be maintained. So the higher bhav, the higher the bhav, uh, then it basically the bhavs that come underneath those are automatically covered in that. Okay. So let's get started. These are the different bhavs that are possible with God. And one of these is something that would come naturally to you. In fact, Swamiji says that, Maharaj also explains that in initial sadhana, like this, Roop Dhyan is the prana of the sadhana. When we do that, when we think about God and try to build a connect with Him, you may step in, step out of different bhavs. But eventually there would come a stage where you will settle in for a particular bhav that will come more naturally to you than others. And that is what you keep progressing in. So let's look at, go deeper now into this topic. So like I said, these are the different bhavs. So we will start with Shant Bhav today, and then we will pick up the remaining bhavs as well. And the possibilities with each one of those bhavs is what we are going to discuss. So Arjun is a fit student. He was a devotee of the Lord, like Lord himself is saying in the shloka. And the devotion can be practiced in any of the bhavs. So we will get started with Shant Bhav. In Shant Bhav, as you can see, you adore God as your king. As you can see, there is a king and then king subject kind of a relationship in the picture. As you can see, God is my king and you are his praja. So what it means is, the God and king, they have a subject object relationship where subject becomes the God and object is you, the Jivatma. And the devotees of Shant Bhav who perfect their devotion, they go to Vaikuntha Lok. Now we are talking about lokas here. Okay, maybe tomorrow, or we'll see, we'll introduce the concept of lokas also. Briefly, we have touched upon this concept. So it is like you have a Brahmand. Our Brahmand is owned by Chaturmukhi Brahma, and similarly there are other Brahmands which are owned by 10-headed Brahma, 100-headed Brahma, 1,000-headed Brahma, million, trillion-headed Brahmas. It's a pretty vast. So each Brahmand is a universe. And similarly, we have multiple universes. So you can call it multiverse, right? It sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, universe and then multiple universes, but then that is how it is. And then beyond this universe, that cosmic egg, each universe has its own set of higher planets, central planet, Bhuvar, Swahar, Tal, Pata, Rasatal, all those Patal, and 28 or 27 Narakloks. Okay, we'll get into that. Beyond this cosmic egg of all the universe of material creation is the Birja River. Okay, and beyond Birja River comes Parvyom Lok. Parvyom Lok is where all these divine abodes exist. Starting, Vaikuntha Lok, Saket Lok, Shiv Lok, Devi Lok, Golok. All these, they come through that. So we'll probably go into the lokas in one of our sessions, but let's understand the people who perfect their devotion to God as a king, they go to Vaikuntha Lok, Lord Vishnu's Krok. And in that Lok, Lord Vishnu actually resides in his four-armed form with the divine disc, club, and a constant reminders of his divine power. So the four-armed form of Vishnu we have seen when he had descended, he took birth. First, he showed that form to Devaki, and Devaki said, looking at you, I feel like reciting Vishnu Sahasranama. How can I see you like my baby? So he said, all right, let me become a baby now. So this is the Vaikuntha Lok, where when you perfect your devotion in Shanta Bhav, that's where you go. Now, furthermore, let's look at some of the other. Now, in this particular Loka, Now let's understand, when you go into this lok, you are a done deal. It's like God realization is done. That's when you go. So don't think it is like a temporary pit stop where you can come back to the material world again. No, you are a done deal. It's like you have perfected your devotion. You are no longer obligated to come back in the material world, and no longer subject to the laws of this material world. Panch de klesh, panch dosh, tritap, tridosh, all that stuff is done deal. However, the relationship that a devotee can enjoy with God, there is no intimacy. There is a bit of a distance or a protocol that you have to maintain. Like even in the world with the king, the subject-object relationship has a protocol and a gap or a distance, or that intimacy is not there. So what is the emotion? Emotion is immense respect to Lord Vishnu from a distance. That is the relationship that you follow. Now Maharaj Ji has beautifully explained it in his Radha Govind Geet 5604. He says, शांत भाव निष्ठायुत, शांत भाव निष्ठायुत गोविंद राधे मिले बैकुंठ धाम सुख ही बता दे. So he's like explained it beautifully that in this you have that respect towards the Lord, and then you get the Vaikuntha Dham. Let's look at further what other possibilities are there. So you get the unlimited divine bliss of and the divine form and association constantly. So that divine bliss that we talk about, Satchit Anand, you have gotten that Anand. However, that Anand is still bereft of Parikar, which is associates, and Leelas. So these two attributes are still missing. That is a perfect Anand. Okay, it is a much higher bliss than a Mukti or a Moksha bliss, Brahmanand. However, within that Anand also there are categories. So this Anand is like the perfect bliss that soul can hope for. However, there is still more potential beyond this Anand as well. So in this one, these two things are missing. Associates and the Leela's aspect is missing. Even though this is a very high bliss and you are beyond this material world. And there is a distance between devotee and God. That proximity, that personal, thing where you can, because when you adore somebody as a king, there's going to be a bit of a distance, and that is how the relationship is in Vaikuntha with God. You are a servant and he's a man. Not even a servant, it's a distance relationship like a king and a praja. And the devotees, they can go up to Prema Bhakti. So Prema Bhakti is one of the levels of Bhakti. I will show the chart a little bit today, and we will build on that chart as we go along. The maximum potential under Shant Bhav is that of Prema Bhakti. Now, Prema Bhakti is not an ordinary thing. It's a very high level of Bhakti, as we will see today. That is the maximum potential of somebody who worships God in Shant Bhav as a king and his subject as a praja, right? You can only visualize God as a king, nothing else. And you perfect that bhakti, this is the maximum potential you can achieve. And then in Radha Govind Geet further, Maharaj Ji explains that Shant Bhav Walon ko Govind Radhe Bhakti Prema Bhakti Tak hi pancha de. So basically Prema Bhakti is the cap in this particular bhav. Now, furthermore, in this stage of perfect love, which is attained only by the grace of Guru, upon God realization, again, the key concept here to understand is you cannot ace it on your own. Prema Bhakti is a very high stage. It's God realized state. A lot of saints are in Prema Bhakti who have reached Vaikuntha under the lotus feet of God, Vishnu. It is not an ordinary state. And for a soul to reach there, they need a grace of Guru. And then two kinds of devotees can reach there. One who worship God in the Paramatma form. If you remember the plenary expansion of God, the Kshirodakshai Vishnu, which resides inside us, which is also called Paramatma. So people who actually worship in Paramatma form, they can reach this stage when they perfect their devotion. and people who worship Lord Krishna with Sadharani Rati. Now, we will not get into Sadharani Rati today. These two kinds of devotees can get to this stage. These are the potential of these two stages. Now, let's get a little bit into the different kinds of bhakti that we are talking about. We introduced the concept of Prema Bhakti today. Now, what is this Prema Bhakti? Let's put it in perspective to see where it falls in the grand scheme of things. Okay. Now, Vaikunt Lok, as I said, people worship Mahavishnu, they sing his glories, but they do not enjoy the physical intimacy because Praja does not have access to the king. They have to maintain that distance. And this Mahavishnu form is also known as Paramatma, like I explained. And in this form, as you can see, God is in his full four-armed form, holding a conch, a disc, club, and a lotus. And his permanent abode of Mahavishnu is Vaikuntha Dham. And he reveals his name, as we know, Mahavishnu, abode and attributes, but does not exhibit any pastimes or any associates. It's like a king. No pastimes, no associates. These two things are missing in this particular. And Vaikuntha is and if you look at Vaikuntha, how it has been explained is that, the forearms and then his radiance, Vishnu has its radiance, right? The effulgence or the aura, as you can say, the speed of his disc, Sudarshan Chakra, the club, Gada, they are constant reminders that he's omnipotent God. So basically, God is actually showing his Aishwarya Shakti here. And those who follow the path of yoga, they reach Vaikuntha, that is their ultimate, the abode they can go to, and Mahavishnu's abode, and they basically respect him and bask in his glory. But they cannot have any closeness with him in this particular bhag. And Paramatma is nothing but Kshirodakshay Vishnu, which is a planetary expansion of God himself. And the Paramatma is the one who notes down our karmas as well. So his personal form, Mahavishnu, is where is resides in Vaikuntha, and that's where devotees who perfect their devotion in a yogic path, they who do it in a Shant Bhav, they get to. So in fact, it is said in Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, that is also God, basically this entire thing is in the Shant Bhav only. It's a devotion in Shant Bhav. And this is where devotees of Shant Bhav actually end up reaching that abode. Now let's look at the preparation part of it. When we talk about bhakti, what is bhakti truly actually, and what are some of the symptoms of the bhakti? Let's look at it. So there is a preparatory state, first of all. The ones that most of us are in, we are doing preparation, and there are symptoms along the way as well. Like we have milestones whenever we create a project plan or we plan to go to some place, there are some intermittent milestones as well. So let's look at some of these. So as you look at it, when an athlete has to take off, there is a preparatory stage where he's not yet taken off, but he's preparing, mentally preparing, physically, getting his muscles aligned to all the practice that he has put in. So he's just getting ready. So here are the different steps here. It is called, the first part is Shraddha. It starts with Shraddha. You need a faith to begin with. For bhakti, we have spoken about this concept multiple times. Nobody is without faith. Anything and everything in life requires faith. When we go to a doctor, we trust him. When we board a flight, we trust the pilot. When we drive on the road, we trust the person who's coming at a very high speed, behind us or in front of us, that he's not good. So there's absolutely nothing that is bereft of faith in life. And same goes in the spiritual path as well. It starts with faith, putting an intelligent faith based on proper knowledge. So it starts with Shraddha. Then it goes to Sadhu Sang. Then you will start having, associating yourself with people, like-minded people, which is called Sadhu Sang, and you start to have a tendency to start associating with them, and saintly figures. Your ears yearn to hear those kind of messages, talk about godly topics and stuff like that. So satsang is the next step for that. Bhajan Kriya, and then you start getting ras or mellow in bhajans, kirtans that people do, right? Sometimes you might be wondering what kind of fun is doing all those kirtans and bhajans, but that is another symptom on this path. This is all preparatory stage, by the way. You have yet not taken off. And then anartha nivritti starts happening, like a lot of you would have experienced when you start progressing in spiritual path. A lot of things that you previously yearned for, they start falling by the wayside. Things which are not needed for us in this life, things which are could be potential impediments for us in this path, those start falling away by themselves. That is God's grace, because God knows what is important for us, what is needed, and he starts taking away things away from basically all by itself, which are not conducive for our spiritual journey. There's so many people who would come and say, by the when they started on spirituality, or listening to satsangs, attending satsangs, and developing more taste for it, automatically a lot of their vices, they did not even have to let go of it. They just lost interest in those. People used to be heavy drinkers, smokers. I know quite a few friends who can vouch for that, those kind of statements. So anartha nivritti starts happening automatically. And then nishtha, obviously your faith becomes nishtha at this level, where you have a firm faith in the in the words of your guru, and what scriptures say. That nishtha starts becoming solidified. It's not like wishy-washy, maybe not, who knows. All those things will start falling by the wayside. So nishtha would be your next step. And then comes your ruchi. The interest would keep on solidifying on this path. Ruchi is, as you know, it's a Hindi word. That will go. Then you'll have asakti, deep yearning to attend satsangs, to talk about God, to be amongst people who talk about this subject. So that is another symptom, and that happens. Then finally it takes you to the bhav. So get, set, go, as you can see in this athlete. Then you get into bhav. Okay, so when it starts in a preparatory phase, from shraddha all the way up to asakti, the symptom is, initially obviously you'll have to, especially when you are building shraddha and you are in the initial stages, going with sadhu sang and bhajan kriya. So you would have to initially force your mind. Your mind will not cooperate. You'll say, no, let's have fun, because our lower nature is like gravity. It pulls us. Says, no, let's take it easy. There's no fun. I would better watch something interesting. Why to do that? So you would have to, there would be a tug of world to begin with, and the mind will have to forcibly put into these things, at least sometimes, when your sanskars are not cooperating. So your natural tendency is to stay in the world, but sometimes you may have to apply your willpower or why power to bring it to God, or invest your time wisely in these things. That is the initial stage. Once you are in Bhav Bhakti, then the reverse starts happening. Then your mind is in God, because God is a Rasindhu, right? When you start getting the bliss of God, especially when you are reached that Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti stage, then for you to operate effectively in this world, you have to come down. So saints do the same. They are in, not even Bhav. Bhav is, again, there are different levels to Bhav. We'll look at that. They are in Mahabhav and even advanced levels. Now, if they remain in that level, right, there are manifestations when you stay in that Bhav. We'll discuss about that topic as well in one of the sessions. How will they interact with us? So they have to come down to our level and then operate, because they have to give the message. They have to operate like normal human beings. So they come down to that level and then operate, talk to us. But then even with normal people, let's say you reach a certain stage, you have passed Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, all these stages, and now you are in a Bhav Bhakti, then your mind will be naturally attached to God, and for you to operate effectively, you'll have to step back a little. So now the reverse will start happening. Okay, that is the first milestone, big milestone, where you have really taken off. Okay, before that it is all preparatory, and it can happen only with God's grace. Okay, there is your effort, 20% probably would be your effort, 20 to 30%, with the purity of intention, of course, and then it will be supplemented by God. That's when we reach this stage. It's not like I will do this, and then I will reach into Bhav Bhakti. No, it has to be supplemented with God's grace. That's when we will read Bhav Bhakti. It's just like a child is trying to, trying to lift weights in a gym, and he's putting in his effort, and then the father is just giving it a little bit of push, and child is thinking, wow, today I lifted, another 10 pounds. But the point here is actually the force which is responsible for the child overachieving is some, coming in from the Father. Same thing happens on this path as well. We put our effort, and then God starts gracing us, and that's when we reach that stage. So point here being, this is all preparatory stage, get set go kind of a stage. And when you reach Bhav Bhakti, that's kind of when you have really arrived in Bhakti. Before that, it's all preparatory. You will have phases, you're going, coming back, sometimes your mood will cooperate, sometimes it will not, and then that nishtha is also not there, it will waver here and there. Ruchi is there, but you have ruchi in other things also. So all that will continue until you reach a Bhav Bhakti stage. Now with Bhav Bhakti, it's not the end. Okay, we will go deeper into these concepts in subsequent sessions, but I just wanted to give you, like I said today, high level, and then we'll get zoom in into each one of these in detail. Okay, again, for these concepts also, I've just given a very high level. If you want, actually, this topic itself can go on for next 6 months. This is how deep it is, but we will try to cover as much as we can, but we'll go zoom in as needed. Now within Bhav Bhakti, let's look at the different stages. Let's say you have reached that milestone of Bhav Bhakti. The first stage is called Shanti. We'll not go too deep into it today, but I'm just telling you. The second stage is called Avyakt Kalatvam. The third stage is Virakti. The fourth stage is Man Shunyata. The fifth stage is Asha. Sixth stage is Samutkantha. Eighth is Namgan Me Ruchi, Gungan, as you can see, seventh stage. Eighth is Namgan Me Ruchi, and the last one is called Leela Sthal Prem. We will get into the detail. Each one I'll explain in the subsequent sessions, not for today. I'm just giving a high level today. So first, preparatory, you saw that, right? First, we have to cross that. These are some of the milestones. Like some people, including myself, we ask Swamiji, how do we know how far we have progressed? Okay, so some of the symptoms we can see how far we have, how much ruchi we have, how much asakti we have gotten. Do we have to put our mind, does our mind naturally go to God and we have to take it back to world, or our mind is naturally in world and we have to force it to God? All these will tell us how far we are progressing actually. And after we have reached Bhav, these are the different 9 more steps to it. Okay. So, and no amount of penance or devotional practice can give rise to these symptoms. If you think I will do 10 hours of meditation, 20 hours of meditation, or I'll do a lot of austerities, or I'll do 16 rounds, 28 rounds, 24, 40, 60, whatever. Nothing can actually build the eligibility for reaching these stages. So 2 things, you have to have a genuine saint, come in contact with a genuine saint, then these devotional symptoms will start manifesting. Obviously, it has to be supplemented with our sincerity of intent and a lot of practice on our end as well. Saint and the grace of God and Guru is needed to actually start realizing some of these stages. That is what is needed. Sadhan Bhakti is in our hand. The initial part where we need to put in our effort. Taking us to Bhav Bhakti is all God and Guru's. And progressing in Bhav Bhakti is again God and Guru's grace only. So these are the different levels. Now you will say, where is Prem Bhakti here? We spoke about in Shant Bhav. Where is Prem Bhakti? We didn't see Prem Bhakti anywhere here, right? So once you are past all these stages, let's look at. So as you see, a bit of a trajectory here. Now the Prem Bhakti is one ray. Okay, let me just get into that quickly. Maybe this will explain it very nicely. As you can see, sun, its rays are coming. Now, goal of Sadhan Bhakti is Bhav Bhakti. As you saw, the peak of Sadhan Bhakti is Bhav Bhakti. And the goal of Bhav Bhakti is Prema Bhakti. So, once you perfect your Bhav Bhakti, it is said that Bhav Bhakti is one single ray of the sun called Prema Bhakti. Bhav Bhakti is just one ray. You know how many rays sun emanates? So that is the relationship between Bhav Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. Now, having said that, let's put it in perspective now, Prem Bhakti. So if divine love is like this, it goes from 0 to infinity. And types of relationships, if we talk about, Prem Bhakti falls here, where you have Shant Bhav, king subject. So Prem Bhakti is at a much higher level even than the Bhav Bhakti, the peak or the Parikashtha of Bhav Bhakti. That is where Prem Bhakti falls. I'll give you a bit of a thing, again, like I said, high level today. So if this is the Prem Bhakti, you say, okay, Prem Bhakti is there, what are the other Bhaktis possible? So we will build on this chart as we go along during this week. This is not where it stops. Okay, I'll tell you the possibilities now. After Prem Bhakti comes Sneha Bhakti. Then comes Man Bhakti. Then comes Pranay Bhakti. Then comes Raga Bhakti. Then comes Anuraga Bhakti, Bhavavesh Bhakti, and Mahabhav Bhakti. And Dasya Bhav that we will pick up takes us to Anuraga Bhakti. Rag Bhakti, I guess. Yeah, Raga Bhakti or Anurag Bhakti. I'll check it out. Sakha Bhav takes us to the one that Lord Krishna is saying, Arjun. It takes us to Anurag Bhakti, to this level. And Vatsalya Bhav also takes us to Anurag Bhakti, but at a higher proportion. And finally, the Mahabhav Bhakti is Madhurya Bhav, which is the topmost Bhakti, which in turn has three aspects to it: Samartha Rati, Samanjasya Rati, and Sadharani Rati. Now, if you look at it, both Prema Bhakti and Sadharani Rati are actually at the same level, which is what we spoke about. If you remember this, we said what are the potential of, it should be Prema Bhakti and this Bhakti, actually both are what we spoke about in this particular slide. So Prema Bhakti and Sadharani Rati is what you get in Vaikuntha. That is the bliss that is possible in Vaikuntha, in Shant Bhav. So this is the key concept. So if you worship God, so first of all, why do we need to worship God, right? We spoke about it. Yes, we can worship on the light aspect of it. That is called formless. That bliss is called Brahmanand. Now, Brahmanand is fine. That is moksha. In Bhakti Marg, they say you reject it. Okay, that is not the topmost goal for it. It's like if you want to reach, you wanted to go to, I don't know what example should I tell. Maybe you wanted to go to MIT and you settled for a very smaller college. So you reject that part. Mukti is like, let's not even talk about it. If you look at Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam starts by saying that Dharam, Karam, Arth and Moksha. Moksha is Mukti. Leave aside those. Now let's enter the depths of Bhakti. And in Bhakti, the first possibility is Shant Bhav, where when we worship God as our Aradhya or our Ishtadev, we worship him like our king. That itself is a huge thing if we can perfect that devotion. However, if we go by scriptures and theory, it says basically it falls. This is, we'll go into all the bhavs. So it gives you the bliss of the Shant Bhav bliss is Prema Bhakti is the cap of that. And that is what we wanted to touch upon today. Tomorrow we will go into, after the Shant Bhav, the next one comes is a Dasya Bhav, and that's where the Brajra starts dropping in. This one, there's a lot of distance between you and God even now, even though this is a very high level of bliss. God has given you his divine bliss. But then the Brajras or the close proximity with God has not yet started. So we'll see if we can get into that tomorrow, or maybe tomorrow we will pick up the different bhavs of Bhakti. I didn't explain those. We can pick one of these two tomorrow. But this week we will cover all the bhavs and then really get into the topmost bhav, the beloved and lover relationship. We'll see if we can coincide it with Valentine's, because that day is synonymous with love, and I think it will be an appropriate occasion to talk about love, what truly love is, when we talk about love from a scriptural standpoint. With that, wanted to give an opportunity today. I didn't pick any discussion topic, but I thought it will give an opportunity for a question and answer, because I know not to digest today and some deep concepts around this this particular topic. So I'm happy to have a bit of a discussion if anybody has any questions around it. Yes, Annapurna, if you wanted to take a screenshot of some slide.
Okay, Mali.
Yes.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Okay. Yeah. You know, when you talked about different stages of bhakti, you know, Nishtha, Anartha Nivritti, and all those things, I had written down the last one as Atasta Vasastale, means you want to live in God's world or something. One more. After Leela, after that, there was one more I had written down somewhere. So,
Leela Sthal Prem, you have written down. I can check it out. But what?
yeah, there was one more that, because of the screenshot of previous one, I memorized that the last one is Atasta Vasastale or something.
If you can send me on the text, I can check it out. Because as far as I have understood or have seen the documentation on it, it goes till 9th state. But if there is another one, you can send it to me. I can look it up for sure. Thank you for bringing it.
Okay, I will send it to you. Just the last one, Vasastale. Atasta Vasastale, and other one is Atasta Leelas.
Sure.
That you want to see the God in divine different Leelas, like that.
Okay, sure. I can check it out. So yeah, that is basically the Shant Bhav. And like I said, Maharajji has beautifully explained in his Radha Govind Geet, and we will keep on referring to it as we go through the remaining bhavs as well, because he has touched upon all the bhavs. And it's very important for us to understand that, because this sets the context for devotion. We don't understand devotion or bhakti in true, and this will get into all those deeper concepts and hopefully set the tone for what the practices that we do, and then the flexibility that we get in changing our bhavs as well. Yes, quite a few other hands are raised. Let's pick up.
Shyamji, you can go ahead, please. You can unmute yourself.
Radhe Radhe, Shyamji.
Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much for this Bhav section. I have some doubts, questions, maybe how sense it makes. I do not know. See, do we really decide what Bhav we choose to love God, or it just comes to us naturally? Because as far as I know, when I initially used to worship God Shiva or Ma Durga, I had different Bhav. I have no clue about these Bhavs. I knew Bhav, Hindi we read somewhere, but I could not associate with this with God. But naturally, when we worship some other God, we have different Bhavs, as I told you earlier also. But since for the past 6-7 years, when I have reshifted myself to Lord Krishna, my Bhav has changed. Isn't it something natural which comes to us, or do we have to really follow this set goals and then follow worship God as it is?
Yeah, so part of it is dictated by our sanskars for sure, right? But our sanskars dictate a lot of other stuff as well. Once we get the knowledge, we can actually start modifying our sanskars. So if I know this bhav will give me the topmost prize, then somewhere at the back of your mind it will be there. Eventually you have to get there somehow, right? But then it comes naturally based on our sanskars. But then with knowledge, we can start working towards it. Now, if you ask me, the ladies, girls, they have a natural advantage. Madhurya bhav. Now, for a guy to think, obviously it's difficult. Like Maharaj says, obviously you will, for guys, maan liya, mushkil hai. But the thing is, soul doesn't have a gender. End of the day, in some life we might be born as ladies, who knows? So soul doesn't have a gender, and there is only one Param Purush. But at least from a theory standpoint, if you understand it, that is the topmost prize. And if you, to your point, yes, if you look at it as a child or when we were growing up, whenever we go in front of God, it's like king or master or somebody big, right? That is a natural thing that comes to your mind. So the proximity part of it, where, yeah, you can treat him like a friend and all, it comes with knowledge and with other things, right? But if it happens, hang on to it. Don't let go of it. Be brave enough to do that. Because that is where and God wants us to do that actually. If you think about it, Yashoda Maiya, he used to love when kids would kick him and say, okay, now you become the Ghoda. And this guy, when he was lifting Govardhan Hill, these kids were saying, first of all, this guy makes us work when we graze the cows and he's happily eating and sleeping. And now does he think we are the servant of his father? He's making us lift this hill also. He likes that. So he hides his Aishwarya. In fact, God will love it, and he would hide his Aishwarya. Braj, Aishwarya Shakti is not allowed. And that is why he didn't want to impress that. When Yashoda Maiya is taking that stick and doing it, he wants that with the soul. So we have to be brave enough, but that only when we are pure will that thing come. Otherwise, we will always have some kind of a fear and, that a bit of a gap or distance that we will feel in our minds with God. So we got to be brave enough and move towards that as best as we possibly can. That is the whole idea. That's what our scriptures are telling us.
Initially, I had no clue about these scriptures. I had never read those, but I used to listen from here and there. But since I have joined this JK Yoga for last year or so, I have some knowledge, not even some. I have a bit of it, but I think this is natural. I am not boasting, but this is natural to me. I do not know how, why, but I really don't have to really press into it. And of last lately, I can listen to Radha mantra, Krishna mantra entire day. Trust you me. But before 6-7 years, once I used to listen this song on YouTube. After 2 minutes, I said, get bored. I said, bus, enough of this. But now I can just listen to it
Kripa,
day in, day out. I do not know. Trust you me.
आपने
It's just happening to me. It is
आप
natural or it is.
आप पे कृपा हो गई है, and then make the most of it. You have hit a jackpot. Okay, let me say that. There's a friend of mine in college. Once he went to the doctor and said, doctor, I have a problem. He said, what's the problem? He said, you know what? I used to enjoy smoking. Now I don't feel like. He said, it's a good thing. It's not a problem. So just hang on to it. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. Krishna Bhakti is very durlabh, and for whatever reason, if those sprouts are coming out and you are able to experience it, you should really feel good about it and just take it to the next level. That's all I can tell, Shyamji. Wonderful.
Earlier, moksha. Now, after listening to you, I have rejected moksha. I don't want moksha, as you
Yes.
told me earlier also.
Please do reject it, okay? That is what Maharaj Ji tells us. That's
I do not know it's right or wrong, but I am simply following you, trusting Maharaj Ji, Guru Swami Ji.
Please.
I do not know. I have left my mind. I'm not thinking much there. Radhe, Radhe.
You will be fine, Shyamji. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Let's hear from other participants. Quite a few other hands are there as well.
Thank you, Shyamji. Pragya ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
Radhe Radhe, Pragya ji.
And Swamiji and everyone. What a beautiful topic. It just brings to me, when it comes to Krishna, it's love. And there is such a very beautiful one line I want to say. Saavare ghane shyam tum to, prema ke avatar ho. So Krishna has descended as the avatar of love, and love is the highest which dissolves all boundaries. And Maharaji is the preacher of Madhurya Bhav. He says, aspire for a highest. Love Shri Krishna as your beloved. Even the first line of his Aarti is Aarti Priyatam Pyari Ki. Priyatam is your beloved. And once you are in Madhurya Bhav, all other bhavs are naturally, you can anyway, anytime keep switching to, as we do in our everyday world also. He cites an example of a wife taking care of her husband. Then she becomes a mom. She says, no, this is food, you eat this. And when she does his work, then she is like in Dasabha also. Then she is his beloved, and then at times of his friend also. So all the bhavs are embedded in Madhurya Bhav. And that is what Maharaj preaches. I also wanted to ask, Nitin, I know this is not for the ordinary souls, no one can reach there. Madanakya Bhav, that Maharaj says, that is the exclusive seat of Radharani, which no soul can reach. That's what I wanted to ask.
Yes. So just hang on to that, Pragya. For that, you keep attending, and I think by maybe Friday, I think Friday we don't have a session, so maybe Thursday or early next week we'll get into it. All the Madanakyam, all those bhavs will get into it. So we will go the whole 9 yards of bhakti over the next 3 or 4 days or 5 days. And Ashtasakis, what is reserved for Ashtasakis, what is reserved for Radharani, what is the maximum possibility for a Jivatma. We'll get into all those topics over the next week or so.
There's a question. If is there any book that can read about this topic, that has this topic? It's very difficult to absorb it.
This is the book in front of you right now. Okay. So that is why you have a guru, right? If I were to read the scriptures myself, I'll get lost. But yes, there are references in Bhagavatam here and there. I'll try to pull those references, but you can take it on face value. Okay. You can imagine all this stuff cannot be created by an ordinary human. Okay. It's not Stephen Covey's stuff or somebody who will come and write this stuff. So this is coming from scriptures only. It is made accessible to us, but we'll keep revising. See, all these 9 steps that I've talked about, we'll go into details of each one of those, what it means actually, what it entails. Today I wanted to give a very high level view, so that you can appreciate the bhakti, the levels of bhakti, and then we'll get into deeper details of it. Like I said, this is a topic we can go for 6 months, but we'll try to condense it as best as we can, but we'll go more deeper into it.
Okay, there are a couple of questions, so let me take Nitinji and then I'll take those questions. Nitinji, go ahead, please.
Feedback tracker as well, please post it. Please do fill it out. Let me know if it was a little overwhelming today. I tried to balance it out, but we'll get into a little more detail so that doesn't become too overwhelming. But end of the day, if you keep the big picture in mind, we are talking about 5 bhavs. We've introduced the first one, and that is capped at Prima Bhakti. And to reach Prima Bhakti, I have introduced all the process, okay, how many steps we have to go through. And then we will introduce the other bhavs as well. But we'll keep revisiting it so that you are able to digest it and, build on it. Yeah.
Go ahead, Nitinji. Thank you for waiting. Yeah.
Okay. Namaskar. Thank you, sir. Today's topic was very wonderful. Thank you, madam. Sir, I feel कि भाव तक पहुंचना, I mean, to reach to the bhav is little difficult because the ladder you showed us, I mean, I think I'm still at the bottom because going to that bhav and from bhav we have to go so much. I don't know how it is possible.
It is.
And then we realize, I realize where I stand today. And only one thing I could realize that we need some teacher and a kind of discipline that we have to follow. But today's topic was very nice. Sir, if you can just explain in nutshell once again, little, for me it was difficult to understand because I'm sorry. So if you can just tell us once again in nutshell, that will be very fine. Thank you, sir.
Sure. So basically we said about this is a preparatory stage of bhakti where you start with faith, then you start surrounding yourself with sadhus or satsang or like-minded people. Then you get involved in bhajan kriya, you start listening to kirtans, that propensity, tendency, or that affinity will start sprouting from within. And then arartha nivritti means the things which are not needed for you will start falling by the wayside. You'll start losing interest in people who will do a lot of worldly gossip, and you will start losing interest in maybe a lot of movies or some kind of music that you previously, it will all started happening automatically. And vices, certain vices, you will lose interest in that. That is the 4th stage. And then the nishtha, your faith will become solid, that what I'm doing is actually the right thing to do. That faith will be pakka. It's not like, okay, maybe it's there, maybe it's not there. That nishtha will come. And then the ruchi, you will be like craving, for your ears will crave to hear about God's topics, or your eyes will crave to hear about, listen about it, see it. You'll just start getting that ruchi, interest. These are the symptoms. And then asakti, deep attachment to this topic. That's all you care for. Okay, wherever you get that opportunity, that asakti will start coming in, you'll start realizing, and then you get into bhav. And then the bhav goes to the 9 levels as well. So these are the different symptoms. It keeps wavering until we reach that bhav stage, of course. And one of the things is we have to force our mind to God, right? And then normally our mind is in world. When you reach the bhav stage, it will be the other way around. Your mind will start remaining absorbed in God because you're getting so much of bliss. You're in that state. And for you to operate effectively in this world, to do your job or to deal with people, you have to step down. That is the symptom of getting into bhav bhakti, where your mind is absorbed in God and you step down. That is the stage, basically. So these are the different stages or the symptoms of this preparatory stage. Most of us are in preparatory stage, but once you get into bhav, then there are also 9 further levels until you reach a prem bhakti aspect of it. So that is in nutshell. But I'll keep on expounding on this as we go along more. Hopefully that was helpful, Nitinji.
The couple of questions are, how should we identify who should be our guru? That's one question.
See, that's a good one, actually. Swamiji has answered it multiple times. It's not easy because here we are talking about identifying somebody who's God realized and we are not. So we will not be able to identify it. However, when we seek guru for the right reasons, God is seated within. It's not like he's going to trick us. And so when we are actually, he wants us to seek. So when it said, when the disciple is ready, master will appear. So you go, first of all, seek it for the right reasons, not for any material gains, that I should get a job, I should get this, only if I get this, it should not be a transactional with God. And when we seek it for the right reasons, that I really want to make a difference to my life, because I want to progress in your direction, God will lead you to the right person. One of the ways to do that is go and listen to discourses, and the one message that will really cut through your heart, pierce your heart, is the one for you. And then just hang on to that person and start building nishtha, and start following the messages. And then within due course of time, just following their word and their teachings, it will start making a difference to your life. And then that faith will be consolidated, reinforced, that yes, this is the right path for you. So it's a bit of God's grace and your own purity of intention, which would finally lead you to the right guru.
Okay, then we have another question, and it is, what is called if you like to listen to spiritual talk, Gita shloka and bhajans the whole day?
It's a good problem to have, I would say. It's a good problem to have. But yeah, as long as we are able to operate as well, because I have a job. So if I can keep that at the back of my mind and still be able to operate effectively, then it's fine. But it should, if it start becoming an impediment to your day-to-day stuff, then you have to balance it out. And that is why Lord Krishna has given us the concept of Karam Yoga, right? You can make your work devotional as well, but it is a good thing. If you're craving for that, nothing like it, right? You're already having asakti. Maybe you are in that asakti level just before Bhav, where you have so much of craving just to hear God's topic or something related to that. So I would say it's a very good state to be in. I envy you if that's the case. I'm not there yet. Wonderful.
If a soul perfects in sadhana bhakti and reaches Vaikunt, is it its ultimate destination, or can soul do more bhakti and reach Madhurya Ras Golok?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that concept. It's like you don't, it's a fundamental block of how you approach, right? So the preparatory stage, the sadhana bhakti that you are doing, it will set the tone for your devotion. So you would have perfected your devotion in that bhav, then that is what you need, right? You would not you would probably not be able to relate or associate with any other bhav, because that is how you have done your bhakti all your life, right? I think Tulsidas or somebody, actually, when he was meditating, Lord Krishna descended in front of him, and he said, no, I would rather see your bow and arrow form, because that is how I worshipped you all along. So it's all our sanskars, and then it's not an ordinary bliss we are talking about here, but yeah, our sanskars and maybe some of our conscious practice would dictate which bhav we end up settling for and what we end up getting. So it can vary from individual to individual.
Lakshmi Prasanna ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. In this Shant Bhav, you said that God is king and Jeev are subjects, and there's no intimate relation. There's a gap between the both. But in the middle of this session, you said in this that they do not exhibit the pastimes. So what is that? I didn't get that point.
Pastimes means like Krishna, he exhibited pastimes, right? Pastimes is like the like Govardhan Leela, or if he's playing with you, all those pastimes, right? Like butter stealing, all those things are there. That can happen only when you have some kind of a proximity to that person. With king, you cannot play around, right? So that is those are the pastimes. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much defined within the boundaries kind of a relationship.
You mean God's past leelas, or our perception of the our past things are not exhibited?
No, pastimes means pastimes is leelas basically. Pastime is not pastime. It is pastime is like stealing or doing something, playing around with people and doing different kind of things. That is what is pastime. You can look it up actually. Pastime is if you go around and play pranks with somebody, right? That is called pastime. So king will not do pranks with his praja basically. You're on mute again. Okay, yeah. So we are little over time, so I can hang around a little bit more, but I would let Amrutwani ji make the announcements. Then you're welcome to stay. I can stick around for a little more because I know quite a few other people have raised their hands. We'll continue this discussion, but at least I want to give Amrita Vaniji opportunity to make the announcements that she has, and then I'm happy to stay back a little longer.
No, it's all fine. The attendance tracker has been posted. I'll post it once again. And we do have regular sessions. So we do have a Tyagaraja Aradhan that's coming up. So that's on the 19th and 20th of February, and the Sanskriti celebrations, but that's for people here in Dallas. And yes, next Saturday, that is the 12th, we do have Bhishma Ekadashi celebrations in the temple. I'll be posting the links. So you can fill that attendance. It's online and in person. So yes, Akshataji, I'll be just posting the tracker now. Nitinji, you can go ahead. I'll just
All right, thank you.
Ashutoshji was waiting for a long time, but I
Oh,
don't see.
yeah, let's take Ashutoshji. And also, I think there's that health thing that from Mohitji that is starting, I think, on Monday.
That has started today.
Oh, today. It already
Yeah, it started today.
Monday,
So yeah.
okay. All right.
Ashutoshji, please go ahead. You've been waiting for a long time.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Actually, we just wanted to say that whenever you get recording of these, please upload on portal so that we can revise and revise many times.
Sure.
And
I would, yeah, just to add to that, I would be picking out the important ones that we do, and I'll be putting videos for that. You can benefit from that, and let me share the portal link for the benefit of everybody in case somebody doesn't have. Let me share that. I've just posted it in the chat. Also, the content, because some of it might be proprietary stuff, I would limit content from time to time, but videos will be available. So do check it out, and then we'll keep revisiting these concepts so that it starts becoming crystal clear, at least from a theory standpoint. I'll do that. As if you see, I posted a few things, uploaded some stuff from the last week as well, and remaining videos I'll post it as well.
And as Shyamji said, means earlier when I doing cycling or running, I used to listen music, but now I listen means only JK Yog music. And particular one song is I like very much, that Radhe Radhe.
Very nice.
If you like, I can sing 2 lines of that if you like.
Sure. Go ahead, please.
Just in between line, I like that line very much. Like, I'll try.
Sure.
यशोदा मैया के घर में है श्याम सुंदर का बसेरा, यशोदा मैया के आंगन में खेले कृष्ण कन्हैया, बोल राधे चले आएंगे मुरारी बोल राधे.
Wonderful.
Thank you sir.
Thank you so much, Ashutoshji. Thank you very much for pouring your heart out in front of us. Wonderful. And I can see the bliss. It's so palpable on your face when you sang that. Very nice. Good to hear you.
Thank you, Ashutoshi. Actually, Ashutoshi, that's my daughter's favorite song. So she keeps singing it all the time.
It's mine also.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Tripti ji. Radhe Radhe.
Tripti ji, that is a surprise today.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Tripti ji.
I'm from Bangalore and I'm very new to this organization. Like, not in terms of Swamiji, but of course the system, what you are following this. Okay. I have a question because I have been doing Gita Satsang in Bangalore for past 3 years.
Okay.
And of course my lives have been shifted. So, now I don't find pleasure in going out or, enjoying all these simple things like partying and all that. So how do you tackle that in this, in the family situation or in a friend situation or in a gathering? Like, you really don't feel like you just want to be with your own inner self.
Yes.
How do we tackle all these situations?
I know this is one of the, I think you have reached this Anarth Nivrit stage already. So Anarth Nivrit means you start losing interest in things that don't add much value to your life, right? Whether it's Bollywood movies, whether it's meeting friends and gossiping and those potlucks and all that stuff, right? So Anartha Nivritti is that part where a lot of those things you start losing interest in. It happens automatically. I'm sure a lot of people have gone through that stage. I think we got to be a little tactical around it. Me time will be there, but then if you think about the remembrance or even if you do chanting with remembrance, that can go on silently. In fact, you can practice, maybe we can practice in one of our sessions when you're conversing with somebody. Even then you can keep on, that thing should continue it can continue in your mind with the remembrance, and it is not very difficult.
So yes, I do the japa of Hare Ram, Hare Krishna. I do 5 malas every day. So that chanting is become an ajapa and it keeps going on. Of course, that is a part.
That remembrance is the key, though. It should not become mechanical beyond a point. That is the key. Because if it becomes
Okay.
mechanical, right, it's like multiplication with zero. That's what Maharaj explained.
Mhm.
So
Yes,
it has to be supplemented with remembrance. Now we need to be smart about navigating those, right? Now, if you start all of a sudden shedding all people around you, they'll start complaining, and your family members may start complaining, and then your spirituality and all those too many impediments. So we have to just handle it prudently, and at the same time, nobody has a right over what you are thinking, right? So that is something in practice we have to solidify, because then we are making it situation agnostic. Wherever we are, that chanting and remembrance is continuing in our head. So that we need to build our inner resilience around that, because there are so many things we can't really control, right, in the world. And it can happen all on its own. And then if we start picking
But
the
when you
fight with
say,
people,
when you say handling about, like, that is what I need to understand is how is about handling it.
handling it is basically, I don't know. I mean, if you ask me, one is I would avoid as best as I can. Okay, if I have a choice, I would simply avoid it. I don't have to do it just for the sake of doing it. But if you cannot avoid it, then you have to really, it's a trade-off. I mean, is it a very important relation? Can you afford to put your foot down and say, no, I'm not interested? There may be times you may not be able to, right? In those cases, we need to have a plan B as well, right? So that's how it's just learn, navigate through it smartly, as opposed to picking up, confrontation with people around it. I mean, that's my two say. I don't know. There might be a better way of somebody can tell. At least that's the best I know from my standpoint. Yeah. All right, great. Anything else? Quite a few other hands are raised as well. So, Amutabaniji, all yours. Okay, Amutabaniji, have you left us already?
I was talking muted. 10 minutes is fine. Nitinji, hope you are also okay.
Sure, that's fine. You can call up. I can see few hands. So please.
Yes, I'll just pick the new names quickly. Sunilji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Sunilji.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. I've actually joined since last month, in the beginning of the year. And I find this, I mean, I've again tried to read Bhagavad and understand it, but I think I'm getting a little bit of hang by attending this class and various your presentations and the perspective of other people. I just actually wanted to catch up on the earlier classes, and on the portal I was able to see those classes, but then when I went to actually see them, they were locked, and now they have disappeared from and I cannot go and revise them.
Okay.
So how and whom should I basically
Okay, so if there's anything in particular you're looking for, you can reach out to me. I'll see that. Like I said, for the content, I think there are plans to put those content in some of the courses and stuff like that. So I might be limiting the content around it. But then for the videos, you should be able to find most of them. And if there's anything in particular from a topic standpoint, feel free to reach out to me. I think you should have you can message me or other. I'll be more than happy to share stuff with you or resources with you that you need. But really glad to have you on the session, Sunilji. Where do you joining us from?
I'm actually joining from Mumbai, India.
Wonderful to hear from you. And yeah, if there's anything in particular you're looking for, reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to provide you the responses around it.
I'm able to see those presentations from where I have joined in, and videos also. But earlier ones like 3.3 where it has started, those were locked, and then I don't know, something I did, and right now I am not able to see them.
So one thing I can rest assure you, Sunilji, if you continue, you will not miss out on anything. Okay, so the idea here is to keep on revising the key concepts so that we can collectively progress. So I try to make sure we do a lot of recaps from time to time, so you'll not miss out on it. It's never too late.
Okay. I will message you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Radhe Radhe ji.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much, Sunil.
Yeah, I'll give it to Annapurnaji. She's been waiting from a long time. Venkatji, I'll take you after she's done talking. Annapurnaji, please go ahead.
Yes, I looked again about that. I think 9 is the right one. You are right, Nitinji, because it was written in a different way. Leela Vasasthala Prem or something else, but I had somewhere else Atasta Vasastale or something else, because it started from Atasta. So you are right. I just wanted to say, because then I looked and then looked at the old one. 9 stages. You are right.
Sure. Thank you for confirming that.
Sorry about that.
It saves me a bit of time. So thank you so much.
Yeah, because this is Leela Stala Prem.
Okay.
That is same thing that I was talking. I thought Leela is God's, activities and all those things. And I thought there is one more, but then I saw that Stala, same thing I saw. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annapurnaji, for confirming that. All right. Yes.
So, Annapurnaji, thank you so much. Venkataji, please go ahead.
Venkataji, where are you joining us from? Good.
Namaste, sir. Radhe Radhe. This is Venkat Narayana. You can call me as Narayana or Venkat. But I'm from NC, sir, North Carolina, Morrisville. I know JSG also, JS Patilji.
Okay.
I used to go to HSS, so I met with a lot of connects there. But then, so I have a couple of questions, but then I will try to restrict. I know it's already late for you all. I'm also like doing the Hare Krishna mantra, like they say like around 16 mantras a day, 16 malas a day, but I'm struggling to do at least 2 a day for now. And even in the 2 also, mind goes somewhere else, but I am still doing it because I want to complete it. I know that I'm not focusing on that, but I still want to make that as a habit so that at least practice like sadhana, it becomes sadhana. At some point of time, I'll get there is what I thought. But there are a lot of people like they do like 16 times, 7 times, 18, all this time, number of times. Does that matter? Or the Bhav? That's what we are discussing, right? The focus is what is my feeling that we should focus on feeling, what we remember. Or what
Maharaji is very nicely explained. The Bhav matters. So if you do 100 rounds and your mind is somewhere else, where your mind is what you get credit for. Okay. So it's good to bring in discipline and all that stuff, but you get credit for where your mind is, not what you are saying with your indriya. The one things that we do with our body and with our senses, indriyas, they are multiplications with 0. What we do with our mind is what we truly get credit for. Secondly, to this topic of chanting versus remembering, we can do a sessions. We did one on Raganuga Bhakti versus Vaidhi Bhakti. And that will bring more light into this topic, because there is one thing called Vaidhi Bhakti, which is rule driven, do's and don'ts. And then there is one thing, Raganuga Bhakti, which is purely love based. And there is a difference between both of them. We can talk about that concept in more detail, maybe in one of our sessions. So, but glad to have you, and you can say my hello to Jayesh ji as well. I meet him during the family camp, so good to know you know him as well. But if you have any other question, do write to me in the attendance tracker. I can have an offline conversation with you. No worries on that.
Sure, sir. This is my first class. I would like to continue as well. But again, as someone mentioned earlier, the work versus this one. Of course, I stopped a lot of other things. I don't even watch TV nowadays.
Wonderful.
So if at all I watch, I watch only the spiritual recordings like this kind of thing.
It happens, yeah.
So I'm restricting, but at the same time, I wanted to really progress on to a better path without impacting my job or other stuff. So do I get a chance to see your previous classes recordings, if any, or is there any?
Sure, you get into portal. I posted the link for that. Go there and you will find a lot of videos for that. In fact, off late, I've been starting posting more regularly, but you will find it for a lot of classes. And if there's a particular topic that you have missed out and you're not able to find, reach out to me. And if you continue on the classes, I can assure you, we will keep revisiting all the key concepts. You will not miss out on anything.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Radhe Radhe.
On the portal, you will be able to. Pleasure to have you, Venkatji. Thank you very much. Radhe Radhe.
Hope you have taken the portal link, Venkatji. Hope you have.
I clicked on all the links, whatever is given there, and store them now.
You have to join that, and then you will be able to get access to it.
I joined a couple of things already right now. So
join everything that we share with you. Okay, that's
what I'm trying to say. So I don't want to miss anything. So wherever there is a Bhagavad Gita class, if my time permits, I join that.
Good. Please come over and bring your friends and family as well. Okay, that will be really nice.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Actually, Nitinji, Jyotiji has sent one beautiful website link. So I've just posted that. It is about kripalugunjashram.org, sadhana bhakti. So it's so nice. It has spiritual terms and all that. So I just posted on the
Sure, that's
chat.
very wonderful.
So yeah, please do have a look at it, and I'll make sure that I save that and share it again. Golabji, if you can be real quick. Radhe Radhe.
Golabji, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you very much.
We cannot hear you. Your audio is not so clear. Golabji. You have to fix it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you better now.
Thank you very much to all. With humble koti naman. Hare and Guruji. Very, very, very beautiful session and heart touching.
Golabji, very sorry. We are not. Your voice is not clear. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
We
you
were-
can
we are
write
not
it in
able-
attendance tracker, Golabji, and I'll read it out. But yeah, we're not barely able to hear you.
Yes. Padmaji, if you can be real quick, I don't want to.
It's okay. I'll put it on the portal. It's going to be a few minutes because there were 3 things or 4 things that I wanted to share. It's not going to be a minute. It's okay. I'll just put it on the portal. That's why I lowered my hand. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. So yes, that's it, Nitinji. We are done. No more hands raised, but there are a lot of.
We're going to talk anyway, so I'll hear it from you, and you can post it on the portal as well. In fact, there are 2 portals and 2 more places you'll have to do that, because people are loving what you write, and I want to make sure everybody gets to read that now. All right. Are you good then? Amritamaniji, anything?
One more thing, sorry. How do we get into direct contact for questions? Triptiji is asking that. And
yeah, I'll give you my phone number. You can keep calling me, all the time. So I'm just kidding. What you can do is, if it's a quick question, you can put it in attendance tracker. I'll try to reach out to you or give you resources. See, I'm like myself work in progress, so I may not have answers, okay, to your questions, but at least I can guide you to the resources. So any question that you have, either you can bring it to the session or put it in attendance tracker. That way we can bring it to the session, or maybe I can have an offline conversation with you on that.
One more quick thing from Seemaji. Anartha Nivritti stage is equal to navigated by staying in the present moment with the person in front of you lovingly by connecting with the divinity in them.
Wow.
When the conversation is over, detach yourself. That way you are not ignoring them, but respecting them, and the same time practicing vairagya.
Great points. Very true. So divinity and then detach. A lot of keywords for sure. Wonderful. Very nice discussion. So look out for that. Bring in your friends and family as well. It's going to get deeper. So you need to tighten your seatbelts. We'll get into some deep philosophy, core philosophy around this. But it's important. These are all very important concepts, because we don't understand devotion or bhakti. We simply think doing our arti kirtan 2 times a day is what devotion is. It goes much deeper, and it talks about the symptoms that you can expect as we progress on this path, and it's kind of a self-assessment to see where we are around that. And also we will discuss about some of the stuff that we keep bringing in, like lokas and stuff like that, time permitting. But this week we will continue to devote time on the bhavs, all the way up to madhurya bhav, love, right? That is the buzzword in the world. And around Valentine's, or hopefully before that, we'll be able to cover that, what is truly love and what are the possibilities in madhurya bhav and what different categories it can fall into. Great. With that, we can do our closing prayers, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe. Have a wonderful evening and great rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nitinji. So there are a lot of things that I've posted in the chat window. So hope you all have taken. Anusha ji has sent many songs, kirtans, and of Swamiji and JK Yog on Spotify. That's available on Spotify. So I sent that also.
Very nice. That's called Ruchi, right? We have to reach that stage of Nishtha and Ruchi. So very nice. Okay, thank you everybody. I'll
Thank you everyone.
seeing you all tomorrow. Radhe Radhe.
Sure.
Radhe Radhe.
Thank you everyone. Radhe Radhe. See you all tomorrow. I'll be closing the bridge now.
Thank you.